Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Keep the Vision podcast. Myself, William O'Donnell, and my co-host, Alan Ingalls. How are you doing, Alan?
I'm very well, William. Great to see you again. And as we've mentioned in the past, Keep the Vision is a podcast based on personal development with a goal to inspire others to become the best they can be. So on that note, William, how's your week been?
Aye, great, Alan. So, yeah, just on that, for first-time listeners, we've obviously had the 3 episodes so far and just trying to get different content out there. And, just to help people, that we helping them change their ways, as Alan just mentioned there, inspire people with different things that we'll discuss tonight and we spoke about previously. And we've got different sort of things that we're going to mention tonight, but that's it. So, no, a great week it's been, Alan. So just sort of had a challenging time, but I think obviously we do with personal development. We're a lot of very self-aware about sort of challenges that we face every week and in day-to-day stuff. And so it's obviously a busy life that we live, when we run our own business. So fantastic. So we've got a little bit of agenda tonight. So what's first on the agenda tonight, Alan, for the listeners?
You mentioned there, William, that it's been one hell of a year and some. We're getting back to where we can get out into social situations again after all the birthdays that we've missed, all the anniversaries that we've missed. But it just means that the parties ahead are going to be much bigger and brighter and more cheerful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe a good time to maybe do a bit of reflection, take stock. And I know that I know that you practice tracking areas of your life. William, could you expand on that a bit more, like using a tracking system of sorts?
Yeah, for anybody that's listening, I've done a lot of things within personal development, a lot of different things, but something that I find is massively important to me is doing what I call a tracking system, which would be sort of basically listen to what's happening within your days and weeks and say, how can I improve? What do I need to do to get the best out of myself? What areas of my life are not working for me? So just for an example, if it's your health, track down on a daily basis what you're eating, what you're drinking. Are you feeling fatigued? How's your energy levels? So basically what I do with this, Alan, is just basically track down what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, rest periods and things like that. And then it's really just being a wee bit aware and taking personal responsibility and taking ownership for what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just using the health as an example.
Yeah.
But obviously, if somebody was going on, I'm not one for diets and all that. I've been quite luckily, my health's been okay like that. But I think a lot of nutritionist experts in that would actually elaborate a bit more on this. They would tell you a sort of similar strategy, to kind of basically just monitor exactly what you're eating. But it goes a little bit deeper than that, Alan, doesn't it? It's a lot to do with the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
So if, I know you've done a lot of this as well when you've done plant-based diets and other things. And I don't want to make this necessarily all about, eating patterns and things like that. But I think that seems to be a massive thing, to track what you're eating. And, but I think there's obviously a bit of emotion behind that, because if you're eating a lot of comfort eating and things like that comes from sort of bad thoughts and bad feelings, how you're feeling. If you're just sort of, having a good day, then you just sort of binge in front of the TV and put Netflix on instead of doing something more worthwhile and you should be doing. Mm-hmm. So that's when the tracking system, I think, comes in. It's really taking that personal responsibility and tracking down the areas that you need to improve on. But give yourself some credit with this. It's not really to make you feel uncomfortable or anything like that. It's really just maybe give yourself the sort of tracking of the things that you're doing well as well. So I think it's people that just that need to improve, like quickly. I think this is massively important, honestly. I think it doesn't really get taught enough, this. And it's something that I read and it really stuck with me. And it's something that I feel, because we're only human, we're all individuals, we all have challenging days, challenging weeks. We don't feel our absolute 100% every single day. But if you're doing this system, then all of a sudden then you start to obviously feel the benefits of life if you're taking personal responsibility to make that change. Because I've always said that nobody else is coming to save you. You've got to take your ownership in everything that you're doing. So just briefly on a couple of things that I've done myself lately that it's come within my thoughts. Sometimes I can have jagged thoughts, or my mind's chronically working against me in certain things, and I think to myself, I really need to start tracking why I'm thinking like this, why I'm doing this, because maybe we'll touch on this in future episodes. But I've went through some trauma in my life, so sometimes I've got to be aware of that. I've got to take some time for myself to actually think about that and try to manage my emotions a bit more. So if anybody's going through trauma, for example, it can be massively important. So if you're sort of want to deal with this the best way, and you're not sort of doing the things you need to be, like talking to the right people, going to groups, reading the right books, then you've got to maybe make the sort of decision to change that. That's what I would say. So that's what I'm saying. Tracking's coming in, tracking what your habits are.
Mm-hmm.
So
is there journaling involved in this then, William?
Yeah, when I say tracking, it's just like basically just get yourself a pad and a bit of paper. So I think that's what the tracking is. It's just writing things down and then just try to come up with a solution to the problem. Because sometimes you think you've got it in your mind, but if you don't write it down, then it can just go away again. I don't know about you, Alan, how you felt about that, about when you've got thoughts or ideas how to change, or if you or just general ideas. If you don't make a note of them, they can go.
Yeah, I mean, that I use a lot of like mind store techniques, which include things like meditation, and also working towards goals that we've set ourselves, and that's all got to be incorporated into your daily life.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned food there earlier, and absolutely, that yourself, if you eat clean, you feel clean, and your mind feels clear, and you tend to stick to your game plan. But as we mention time and again, we're only human, and we will have wee setbacks now and again, which will result in maybe a bit of comfort eating. And if you eat the wrong foodstuffs, well, for me in particular, I know that if I eat too many carbs, I have very regular food comas, and they're not good for making progress in your goals and your task for the day. So food coma, leading to tiredness, and that's when you need to recognize that. So we're talking about the self-awareness thing again. It's recognizing that, and the best way to get out of that is to get out for a walk again. Clear your head, and then get back on the path that you were on to begin with. That's how I would relate to the tracking system that you're referring to, William.
Yeah, that's great, Alan, what you said. I'll just throw a question to yourself then, because obviously you've done a lot of things. Like I know you've tried the keto diet and the plant-based diet, I think. So when I describe it as a tracking system, see for yourself, did you sort of just, probably you done that without calling it sort of tracking? You've just kind of basically you've noted things down, like your sort of calories in or whatever. Did you do calorie count with it, or did a specific routine?
So I've been a pescatarian for like 37 years, and it's generally.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's generally I was labelled a weirdo back in 1984, but who cares? and it served me pretty well. But like I say, I may well, being a pescatarian may sound healthy, but I've got a terrible sweet tooth, so that's the downside of it, and I'm aware of that, very aware of it, and it's something I've not got to watch; it's something I want to watch. So for me, really, I thought of it being a tracking system as such, but I know when I'm putting on weight, for example, and sometimes it's like I would like, to get a result a little bit quicker than normal. So I know that when I did a plant-based detox a couple of years ago, I did that over 10 days. It was great, clean, healthy eating, and I lost a stone in 10 days. And
Oh.
I didn't feel unhealthy or bad for it. Yeah, there was obviously a period in the middle of the week where, side effects of that, but, I was warned about that, and I was lucky enough that, being working for myself, I was at home and I could rest when I had to. Yeah, it might sound a bit extreme, but it was well worth it, and it was great to get such a quick result too. So I would say that, throughout that period of my life when I've been on that particular diet, it's just been a case of the mirror. The mirror determines what action I take, basically, or when the clothes get a bit tighter. So, like you say, don't beat yourself up about it. Recognise where you're at, recognise what you want. It's really what you want, and then take action.
Yeah, fantastic. Good on you for doing what you've done, Alan. Because it's you're obviously no divulging too much about ages and things, but you're a guy that I admire for your age and with the things that you're doing, and I know you're super disciplined in what you're doing for that. But just a point before we wrap this up regarding the tracking, if somebody was in debt as well, I think that this is something that's key. If somebody was wanting to get out of debt, to track exactly what your expenditure is, from your bills right down to, are you spending an unnecessary £6 or £7 in Starbucks that you don't really need, and things like that. It's I would say do that as well, and then just cut out, and you'd be amazed if you sort of tracked that over a year how much money you could save. And people that that smoke and want to give that up, look how much money you can save. So just to wrap that up, I think it's something that's key for if your mind's chronically working against you, finances, health, anything. If you want to change, you can do like a tracking journal. We'll just kind of label it like that. So no, that was interesting. It was good to chat about that, Alan. Thanks for letting me lead that one.
No, not at all. I think it's an excellent subject, given this time that we find ourselves in, and of course it affects everyone of all ages. Mums and dads with young kids, mums and dads with older kids, grandparents, the whole spectrum of society. We'll be looking to take stock after this crazy, 12 to 18 months. So I mentioned kids there, and that makes me then think about, schools and things, and how pupils are coping with going back to school gradually. Correct me if I'm wrong, William, but I believe that you've been involved in mentoring in schools. Does that include, getting kids into personal development?
Yeah, what I do is I do mentoring through a company called MCR Pathways in Glasgow, Alan, and they're the leading organisation for people like yourselves to stay into school and try to make a difference, really. Just try to influence kids that are just at that sort of school leavers age, and just what's their next step. Because I think when you're 15 or 16, it can be confusing for kids at that age, to sort of what is the next step. It's like, but the sort of mentoring I do, Alan, it's like you've got to just be curious. You've got to just enjoy, no pressure, because a lot of kids are kind of just they're put under pressure. I know like some of the affluent areas at the edge of the city and that, or like some of the areas are like the pressure to get the grades to get their school up in Newton Mearns, for example, and stuff like that, to get the top grades. If they don't, they sort of get pushed down to other schools, and I think it's wrong. It's wrong. I mean, it's like kids are sort of can excel after school. Is they're not have to get these grades and that's them set up, sort of thing. But to try and keep it brief as possible, I used to have a mentor in school. I don't know about yourself, Alan. Did you have any access to anything like that when you were younger? Anybody come to school to help you? Anything like that? No?
No, we're all left to fend for ourselves.
No, but what about yourself? Did you have a mentor or a guide when you were younger? Somebody, and like when you were at school age, somebody, a guidance teacher? Did you have anything like that, or was there any sort of figure that helped you at that age?
No, neither at primary school or high school did I have a guidance teacher. I know that a couple of years after I left high school, that the post of guidance teacher came into play. So I believe I'm right in saying that my younger sister and brother, they had guidance teachers, but not me, I'm afraid.
No, it's just that you've obviously, get into your business quite early on, sort of thing. If there was somebody that gave you some careers advice when you're younger, just found your feet or the help of your parents or whatever. But I
Yeah,
think some of the kids. Sorry, I was just going to say some of the kids that I mentored, maybe they've not got that sort of, that support, or maybe the right advice. And it's nothing against the parents. It's just maybe they've not got that. But I imagine, you probably had that when you were a kid.
it was actually a strange one because I knew very early on, from the age of 14, at the end of second year, when we had to select or choose our subjects that we're going to take our qualifications on, I knew that I wanted to be a photographer and a sports photographer in particular. But my careers advisor actually tried to put me off. I don't know what possessed her to try and put me off. I mean, she did, and I chose all the wrong subjects. I didn't do particularly well at school as a result of that. However, the same careers officer called me back after I left school and asked if I was still interested in photography, which I was. And then she managed to get me a placement as a trainee civilian photographer with the Lothian and Borders Police.
Wow.
And the rest is history. But what I have to say, during that third and fourth year, yeah, my mum and dad were always reminding me that, if photography is what you want to do, then stick with it. They didn't try to say, oh, you need to do what the careers officer says, do what you're passionate about. And, got a great camera for my 16th birthday, and then that was me, off and running.
That's amazing because that's it. See, like you followed your passion, and I think that's the mentoring I want to do, and what I've been trying to do to get the kids to kind of reignite a bit of fire in their belly. What are you passionate about? That's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think I was sort of just I just felt stressed and under pressure, and I was young. I've got to pass these exams. I've got to do this. You've got to do this. Get these grades to be, excel in life and that, and then it's just major pressure when you're younger, and that you should be allowed to be free and just explore, and just life's all ahead of you, and just you've actually got to take risks in life to get anywhere, and you don't really get taught that, but that can be daunting for some kids. But I think for me it's like I have to have fun with it, Alan, because if you're going to mentor one of the kids that is 15 years of age, obviously you've got to build that rapport, you've got to build up that relationship, a one-to-one. It's a one-to-one session that I do, and it's all quite relaxed. And how can I help you? How's your day been? It's just that, really, and then that just can lead into great conversations, and it can lead into sort of me just producing some inspirational sort of advice, or just helping them with the lad that I'm mentoring now. He's got an interest in travelling, and because of the travelling I've done in Australia and all in Europe, etc. He's very fascinated in finding things out, and he's away to research. He's learning things in history about World War I and II, and it's things I've forgot about. So he's telling me a lot of stuff. So no, it's good to talk about this, Alan, because I think a lot of kids, are leaving school, and especially some of the sort of rough parts of Glasgow where the mentoring's taking place, and in bad environments. So if they don't have a mentor, if they don't have a guide that's going to just tell them important information, like you say, mindfulness stuff, personal development, trying to get them to set goals, take action, and actually just think a bit forward for themselves, but just have fun with that. It's not about being too serious with kids at that age, but they've got to create a vision, as we've called the podcast, keep the vision. Yeah. So that's it. That is it. Create goals for yourself as young as possible. Have that growth mindset and a flexible perspective on everything. Maybe that's a bit difficult when you're 15 years of age. A life perspective comes through, make mistakes and learning about life. But I mean, creating goals, you can do that at an early age. So no, thanks for bringing that up, Alan, because it's something that I'm quite passionate about, as you can probably hear. And some parts of Glasgow, are, it's some of the schools, nothing wrong with the schools in general, the parenting, but it's just sometimes the environments can be quite rough. And if they don't get the mentors in, or they don't get that extra bit of support, that can just bridge that gap from just sort of like kids maybe going off the rails. or just maybe saying, no, I've got a mentor there that's told me this is the right thing to do. I'm going to actually stick with this path. I know it's right. Morally, I know that's right. I don't want to go down a bad path. My friends are doing this. They're sort of drinking, smoking and all that. I don't want to do that. So, no, it's something I'm passionate about, and it's something that's massively important, So, thanks for touching on that.
That's fantastic, William. You've reminded me, you're very passionate, clearly, about what you do. And I think as a result of the work you do, that must give the kids a sense of responsibility as well. I suspect that the longer you work with them, they don't want to let you down.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, they'll learn that they're only letting themselves down. So I think in turn, they'll want to do well. And I think that's what a great start, what a great facility for the kids. And it's kind of reminded me of something I read in a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. So bearing in mind, he wrote this book in 1911. So this is not new stuff. It's been on the go all this time, if not before that. But he says in the book, success in life is becoming what you want to be.
Wow, that's powerful.
And that's exactly what you were saying about making the right choices when you're at school. Success in life is becoming what you want to be. Find your passion and then go for it.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I can't say any more to that, Alan. That's just that's awesome, because that is it in a nutshell. I think I've tried to do that with myself. I know you had your passion for your photography for a young age, and mine was snooker, and that was what I wanted to do. To turn professional, go to the top of the game. So I think I would, if who am I to tell a kid that's their dream, and then if I would be heartbroken if one of them said to me, "Oh, but my parent wants me to get involved in the family business, and I don't want to do that. I want to pursue this talent that I've got to do something else." I think that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbreaking, that, because that kid is it's their life, say, but I think some kids maybe don't have ambition to maybe they're out of school and they start just a job, and then it can sort of, things can manifest like different meeting different people. Some people get married quite young and things like that, or things can happen. So that's advice as well. I say as well, just stay curious, just go out and learn. And every day's a school day. You're at school, but you're going to leave school, and every day's a school day. I know maybe I've repeated myself for a previous episode, but no, that's it. But you say, touched on the personal development side. I think that's a big thing. And down in England, there's mindfulness as an actual subject in school. So to get kids to sort of be creative and try to pursue life goals for themselves, and learning to be mindful, obviously, about how they're acting, how they're thinking, and that's kind of goes back a little bit that tracking thing. Just touching on that again, but it's so I think I've tried to encourage the sort of mindfulness goal setting aspect to it, and things that we've learned from Mindstore, which I can take into the schools, like Real Life and Gratitude Lists and everything. Because when you start to do this, Alan, as you know yourself, you start to obviously get a massive benefit in yourself. So no, this is the stuff that I love to teach. So don't know how I never ended up a teacher. Maybe it was
well,
who knows? Like,
it may still happen, William. It may still happen.
That's it. Coach, teacher. I like to.
In a way, you're a teacher on Keep the Vision. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
We mentioned in our mission statement of sorts that our goal with this podcast is to inspire others to become the best they can be, and part of that process is obviously, setting goals and setting a goal and creating a vision at as the end game. So we touched on at the start of this evening about we're getting a sense that the lockdown is coming to an end. It may be a slow process, but we're sensing that it's coming to an end, and we're looking ahead now to travel, if not abroad, at least further afield from where we've been allowed to travel in recent times. So goal setting is clearly something that we would want our listeners to be thinking about. Would you not agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's I think that gives you some kind of purpose in life. It gives you passion if you've got something to aim for. If you don't have a goal in place or goals in place, then you're just sort of journeying through life without sort of any kind of purpose. I think most people have got a goal in their mind. They want to be the best person they can be. They want to be the best father, the best mother, grandparent, etc. That's like your values in a sense, but um, goals like to, if for example, if you wanted to go out and run a marathon, you've got think of all the vision you've got to put in place for that. Think about the strategies you've got to put in place for that, the planning, the action, everything. So creating, it doesn't need to be a goal like that, but a goal that's going to, something that's going to get you sort of motivated to a different level. And a good way that I can put it, something that I learned, is you can treat it like a magnificent obsession. So obsessions can be good. Obsessions can be good if they're handled the right way. So do you like that one, Alan? A magnificent obsession for a goal?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because it's that's it. I mean, if it's something that just gets you jumping at your bed in the morning, then that's right. If it's something you can't wait for the next day to start, then that's the way you want to feel every day, isn't it? You want to feel, I can't wait for tomorrow, but live in the moment, be present in the moment, but have that vision for the future. So think the best of yourself. That's hopefully this is the content that we're doing with this, Alan. This is what it's all about. Just get you to think the best of yourself and give you different techniques and strategies here. Regarding goal setting, Alan, I know we've touched on this before. We could do the mind store approach, or there's certain things that you've done. What would you like to tell the listeners about goal setting from your own point of view?
It's not something I used to think about up until about 4 or 5 years ago, but since then, and having discovered the wheel of life, that's made a huge impact in how I feel. When I get up in the morning, because I know I've set goals around how my current wheel of life looks, and how the point of the wheel of life is to get it in balance. So we touched on in the previous episode, I think it may have been episode 2, that the wheel of life covers the critical areas of our life. Things like our relationships, and that can be with family, with our spouses, and with ourselves. Is that a healthy relationship with ourselves? Are we beating ourselves up about something unnecessarily, or are we in a good place about that? And that's great. None of this has to always be negative. It can be positive as well. So how's family life going on? How's again social life? We've been restricted there, so we can't kind of go deep into that too much. Things like our career. Are we at the start of the career? Are we coming to the end of our career? Either way, they've both got to be managed. And our attitude, how do we feel when we get up in the morning? Do we feeling raring to go? That kind of thing. And you touched on earlier about our health, which is key, because without our health, we're not good to ourselves or anybody else. So even just touching on those areas, sit down and do a bit of reflection. Where am I at? How am I feeling about all these areas? And just be honest with yourself, just be accountable to yourself. Could you be fitter? Could you be eating better? And we speak about journaling a lot, William, and I think that's key. Write down how you're feeling about all these areas in your life, and just write down little action plans. And bit by bit, I can assure you, if you stick to it, it'll gain momentum. Sometimes you'll peak and trough a little bit, but you'll peak again, and it'll plateau out. But just keep the vision and keep going with it, and then you'll achieve a goal. And then before you know it, you'll be setting another one. And that's, as human beings, we have an instinct built into us that we're supposed to grow as human beings. We're supposed to develop. It's not wrong to want more out of life. That's our spirit, if you like, wanting to grow within us. So never feel bad about, aiming high, aiming big. The same amount of energy is used if you aim low. So aim high and go for it.
Oh, excellent, Alan. That's brilliant the way you've put that together there. Because, like you say, back to what I said earlier, you're taking personal responsibility. So if people want to go back into episode 2, Alan talks a little bit more about the wheel of life, but it's identifying areas of your life that you feel that you need to sort of make a change. And Alan put it perfectly there. You know, your relationships, your career, your finances, your health. So create your goals around that. So ask yourself what areas of your life that you want to improve on. What is it that you need to get right just now? So as Alan mentioned, we're coming out of the lockdown. You know, people haven't been socialising for the last year. So you know, people are maybe feel anxious about getting back into social situations, you know, having conversations with sort of people in a working environment or socially, you know, out and about, you know. So for people that can be a stressful thing, you know. So so I feel as if like people maybe need to sort of create some sort of strengths within themselves to kind of get, you know, I say strengths, identifying areas in yourself that you need to sort of work on. That's what the wheel of life is. So you know, so just create wee mini goals for yourself like that, whether it just sort of just make the point of sort of having great conversations, communicating well, through the day. And you know, a lot of people have had challenging times over the last year. We lost their job, for example. You know, so you're setting goals around a career. Maybe this could be the greatest time of your life, all this time that you've had off, because you can propel yourself into a life that you never knew that existed. You can excel into something that you thought was beyond your expectations. You can get something new for yourself that you've never ever thought was possible. So that's the way that you should think. That's the way that you want to think. I'm sure if you're listening or watching this, that's the way that you want to think. So that can be achieved, but you know, a big caveat with that, like you know, there's it all goes back to your character and just try to find inner strengths and confidence. And me and Alan will give you some book recommendations that we've read that can help you with stuff like that. So yeah, set goals for yourself. Maybe I'll throw a question back to yourself, Alan. If any of the listeners are listening, is you're obviously doing this bodying up and with Craig and challenging yourself with goals. If you want to elaborate a wee bit more, feel free about things that you're trying to achieve for yourself and pushing yourself out your comfort zone.
Yeah, well, for me, so it is a challenge. You know, we don't use the word problem, do we, William? So it's a challenge. So for me, it's plain and simple. It's my photography business. It's been extremely quiet this past year. We had a window last December, the whole of December, where there was a window where we were able to work, and with restrictions, but I was able to work, and it was great. And I thought then that was maybe the beginning of things opening up. It never proved to be the case. However, during this time, all I've ever been thinking about is just, you know, seeing my diary full again, you know, with clients and whatever. And the important thing is just to have the goal where you have regular work coming in, you have a sum of money that you like to earn at the end of the year, and you visualize that happening. Because I've had that success in the past, I know I'm capable of that. So use those memories as a reassurance that you are good at what you do. And I'm talking about, this applies to everybody out there. You know, remember that you are good at what you do. Make a point of remembering the good successes you've had and replay them over in your mind. And it kind of acts as a little confidence boost. Gives you a little bit of, gives you a confidence boost that you are good at what you do, you can be successful, and that the good times will come back again.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, because obviously you've had to develop that, haven't you, sort of thing, you know, like different, you know, to use your phrase there, a challenging year. Over last year, you've had to develop maybe a bit of inner strength as well, Alan, to kind of keep the faith and keep the vision, pretty much.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, in a previous life where I wasn't using meditation, I could have allowed myself to have got pretty stressed out about it, become a very reactive kind of person. Mm-hmm. I like to think that I'm quite calm and collected, and I know sometimes that little chimp in my head becomes activated, but I've learned how to control him. And yeah, that's what this work is all about. It's about responding appropriately to the challenges that we have. Yeah, I'll never tire of saying this, William, but you and I are on our own personal development journeys. We accept that it's a lifelong journey. It's not something that, there'll come a point where we know it all, because that's just not how it works. So it's a kind of, it becomes our toolkit that we can use when we have challenges in life. But it's there to support us as well. And it's not only when we have challenges, it's to be used during the good times as well. So, when we are allowed to meet up with our family and friends, who do you want turning up at that family get-together? You want to be the best version of yourself, So It's been a long time since we've met everybody. So don't let that be a tired, fed-up person that turns up. Make the effort to, sleep well, exercise, eat well, and turn up 100%, as much as you can anyway, and inspire people, by how you are as a person. Anyway, I feel I'm on a bit of a soapbox here, but that's just how I'm feeling tonight.
Oh, brilliant! No, listen, that's just awesome what you've just said there. So we'll put that into the teaser, episode 4 teaser. There we go. Yeah. No, just to touch on a couple of things you said there. How you showing up, I think you mentioned there, but I think it's yourself, Alan, when your communication's everything. I mean, when you're dealing with people, whether it's just your personal life or business, that's one of the things. And I think you said about how you're reacting. I think I'm just getting so calm as I got older, I think, because I think maybe I have had maybe in my younger years that I did maybe react to things, or just didn't know how to handle myself the best way. But I think what I realised, and you talked about Bob Proctor one of the last episodes, and I think he said something. So many people are reacting to life; they're not really living at all. They're just reacting to circumstances. They don't respond to situations or challenges the right way. Everything's a stress, a moan, or a problem. And for me, I'm not trying to act like I'm, the perfect guy here or whatever, far from it. But it's that self-responsibility or that self-awareness thing again. I think it's just reining it all back down to how can I deal with this the best way? What is the best way that I can be today? And sometimes maybe that might take a bit of practice, but then if it becomes like habitual, and then you're sort of all of a sudden you're reacting the right way, when your spouse or your family and friends, they'll pick up on that energy, and then and that's it. And then nobody will give you sort of bad energy if you've got that. It's the whole law of attraction thing again, Alan, isn't it? You'll attract the right people into your life if you're sort of if you're behaving the right way and you're being the best version of yourself, and everybody else is sort of around you will take that in. I think sort of self-awareness is about the people that are just not there for you. And I'm going off in one here with this, but I think you know what I mean. It's just it's obviously just the law of attraction, sort of thoughts become things, and you attract the same sort of like-minded people. And we've had that since we've met, Alan, haven't we, sort of thing, since me and you have just had a rapport since we've met.
Been very, very fortunate. And I mentioned in a previous episode that I think that's just what happens. We must have had similar vibes going on. And it's what you pick up on, what people say, people's manner, like you mentioned there, our character. And we're drawn to, I think, what we like, in people. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's just like I say, communication, and we started this off with talking about goal setting. So hopefully anybody that's listening has got some good insight into that. Just before we wrap up the ending of that part, it's goal setting is the way we've done it through the Mindstore program is there's different ways of doing this, but one thing that me and Alan sort of do is you start with the vision. Keep the vision as the podcast, so that's what it's all about. You focus on the vision you want to achieve, you make a commitment to that vision, then you do the planning stage, plan out how you will get there, and then the most important thing is obviously taking action. We've said this before, that all the visions and all the planning's great, but you've got to go out there and do it. So enjoy this. This should be exciting. This shouldn't be difficult. It should be, wow, this is amazing. This is just good advice for me to just go and start something new. As I say, reaching out to people that have been coming out of lockdown, had a challenging year, but that challenging year could be an unbelievable and inspirational year to get you into a sort of new life.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. So
yeah, definitely, I think it's remembering that this is it. This is not a rehearsal. This is our life now. So grab it and take it forward.
Yeah, you just reminded me of a song there, Alan. I think there's a lyric by the band The Verve, "Life is not a rehearsal." There you go. You've just anybody listening, go and check that out. But yeah, so that was kind of the agenda. We could just, if we've got a bit of time, just do a couple of maybe open questions if you want.
Well, William, I think we've done pretty well tonight. I'm okay. I might save up a couple of questions for next episode. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just thanks for everybody for listening or watching if you're on YouTube. And we spoke possibly about getting maybe some guests on in future episodes, Alan. So we could maybe just kind of touch on that. If we can get other people maybe within the personal development industry, business, fellow entrepreneurs, business leaders, anybody we can think of, we could maybe get somebody in just to sort of grow the podcast. So that would be good.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we've both spoken to our good friend and fine fellow Mindstorm member, Susie Mollison. I know Susie's very keen to come on. I've been working with, in collaboration with two very successful females, one a photographer and one a musician. So both of them have intimated that they would love to be part of Keep the Vision. So that's something to keep an ear and an eye out for.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to get different people on. So, as I say, me and Alan we love doing this. So we love that anybody's watching that gets inspired with it. So that's what it's all about. And as I said before, it's obviously challenging times over the last year, and people need an outlet to put a podcast, because I know the benefit it makes for myself, and me and Alan just listen to ourselves back in the car, and it's not that we want to listen to us, it's just listening to the content, and that's it. It's really, because then it's all learning, it's all expanding and getting different sort of mindsets and things to get the best out of yourself. So that's it in a nutshell, really. And thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you soon for episode 5.
Episode 5 already. Fantastic. Yes. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. See you.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye now.
Bye now.